And so this is very much the case in our human world. We have very similar conventions, whether or not it might be obvious at first glance, such that we may very well be using these same mechanisms in our everyday lives. So for instance, if you happen to have a mailbox out on the street on your home or down in the basement of Harvard Science Center when on campus, it may very well look like something like this, at least more residentially. And suppose that this mailbox here is representing, in this case, P in the story. It's storing a pointer, that is the address of something else. Well, if there's a whole bunch of other mailboxes on the street, well, we can put anything we want in these mailboxes. We can put postcards, letters, packages even. And just as in the real world, can we do the same in the virtual? I can store chars or integers or other things, including addresses. So for instance, Brian, I think you have your own mailbox somewhere else. And Brian, of course, has a mailbox that itself has a unique address. So Brian, for instance, what happens to be the unique address of the mailbox on your street there?
Yeah, so here's my mailbox. It's labeled N, and its address is over here. The address of my mailbox appears to be OX123.
Yeah, so my mailbox too has an address. Frankly, again, I don't really care about it, so I've not even put it on the mailbox here. But if my mailbox represents P, a pointer, and Brian's mailbox represents N, an integer, well, it should mean that if I look inside the contents of my pointer and I see the value OX123, that is now my clue, a breadcrumb of sorts that can now let me go look inside of Brian's mailbox. And Brian, if you wouldn't mind doing that for us, what do you have at that address?
And if I look in my mailbox at address OX123, I have the number 50 inside of this mailbox.
Yeah, indeed. So in this case, he happens to be storing an int, but it could be anything else. And again, we don't typically care about these specific addresses. Once you understand the metaphor, really, we can do something silly and really just think of this mailbox as storing a value that's like pointing at Brian's mailbox. It's some kind of indirection drawn there pictorially as an arrow. Here is a silly foam finger, or if you prefer, a foam Yale finger, pointing instead at Brian's mailbox just as a sort of breadcrumb leading us to some other value on the screen. So when we talk today and beyond about addresses, that's all we're talking about. We humans in the real world have been using addresses for eons now to uniquely identify our homes or businesses or the like. Computers do the exact same thing at a lower level using their computer's memory.